So, today we're going to dig into a document that's had a huge impact on global politics, Osama bin Laden's Letter to America. Now, our goal here isn't to debate its claims, but to actually understand its structure. How does it build its own argument? How does it present its case? Let's break down the logic it uses step by step.
Okay, so where do you even begin with something like this? Well, the letter itself tells us exactly where to start. It doesn't just launch into a rant, it actually frames its entire purpose as an answer to a question it claims Americans themselves were already asking. And right out of the gate, you can see how it sets the stage. By calling its own version of events the truth, it's claiming a kind of ultimate authority. This isn't just an opinion piece. It's positioned as the definitive answer, an answer meant to both explain the past and threaten the future.
The entire document is really built around answering two big questions that it poses directly to the American people. And for our purposes here, we're going to zero in on the first one because it's the foundation for everything else.
This right here, this is the core question. It's the engine of the whole letter. Every single argument, every piece of so-called evidence that follows is all designed to answer this one simple question.
All right, so let's get to the answer it provides. What's really striking is just how direct and, well, simple it is. There's no complex ideological warm-up. It just gets straight to the point and sets a really confrontational tone.
You know, you might expect some kind of deep, complicated religious explanation to start things off. But no. Instead, it begins with a very, very blunt accusation.
And there it is. The entire justification is framed as self-defense. This is absolutely crucial to understanding the letter's logic. It's arguing that its actions are not the start of a conflict, but a response to one that's already happening. From this point on, everything else is just evidence to try and prove that one point. You hit us first. So, okay, how does the letter even try to support this claim that America attacked first? Well, the first and biggest piece of evidence it offers is all centered on one place: Palestine. The first thing the author does is establish this long historical grievance. By going back over 80 years, the letter is framing this whole thing not as some recent issue, but as a generational struggle against what it calls a foreign occupation. And here's where the argument escalates. It moves from that big, sweeping historical timeline down to a list of really specific, emotionally loaded accusations. Words like oppression, murder, expulsion. In the logic of the letter, these aren't just descriptions. These are the individual acts that altogether make up the ongoing attack. Now, at this point, the letter makes a really important pivot. The focus suddenly shifts away from just the history of the region and moves to directly connect the United States to everything that's happened, arguing that America isn't just a bystander. And boom, there's the accusation. This is the line that ties it all together. It directly connects the United States to all those crimes we just saw, by calling America the leader of the people committing them. In the world of this letter, that's the attack by America. It's that alleged leadership and complicity. So, we've had the accusation and the justification. Now the argument moves into its final phase, a really clear, really stark warning. It lays out what it believes is the only solution and the price for anyone who stands in the way. The language here is just absolute. It's not talking about compromise or negotiation. It frames the very existence of the state of Israel as a crime that requires one specific action: erasure. There's really no room for interpretation there. And this is where it all lands. This is the final conclusion of the letter's logic. It takes the responsibility from just nations and governments and applies it to individuals. It ends with a direct, unambiguous threat of violent revenge. So look, the takeaway here isn't about whether these claims are true or false. It's about understanding the internal logic of the argument itself. You see the pattern? It starts with a grievance, defines that grievance as an attack, and then uses that definition to justify a response. And that really leaves us with a much bigger question to think about. How do these powerful foundational stories, whether they're real or perceived, end up shaping and fueling conflicts for generations?